Morena, gentlemen, or por Marie, depending on what time you're actually watching this video. A number of you still have to submit the practice submission that you were asked to do yesterday. This is really important because we need to know that every single student is able to take a scan of some written work, then to convert it and then to send that to the computer, and it will become as a PDF file, which you then upload into the GWork box. You've probably done it in other classes, but every single classroom teacher is being asked to make sure that every student is able to do that reliably. We will have to try doing a document which is more than 1 page long in due course to make sure that you are taking scans and they are all part of one document when you have more than 1 page. So that'll be the excitement for Monday, perhaps. So that needs to be done. The other thing I want to do today is just remind you that there is now a prestige quiz for you to finish today or over the weekend. Gentlemen, this is a quiz that you did back in March when we were locked down in March and we were studying the film. It requires you to be really aware of the film, and you can't get good enough answers without having watched it recently. So please complete that for me over the weekend, and if you don't, I'll start to hassle you, and because you'll be demonstrating that you haven't rewatched the film. Okay, we're going to start with some revision on the Prestige. So what we're going to talk about today is important themes. Although we spent quite a lot of time looking at Christopher Nolan's use of non-linear time frame, and that's relevant, and we will do a bit of work on that to remind you about it in the next few days. What I suggest you do in terms of your essay questions is to focus on theme, as I laid out for you in yesterday's yesterday's planning sheet, and which talked you through a particular question which you could answer using theme. Okay, so what are our important themes in this film? So we focused our study on 3 interrelated ideas, and we talked about revenge, obsession, and ambition. Those were our big 3. And you'll see here that I have not just written them down as single words, because you've got to be doing better than that. You've got to have some kind of sentence which unpacks the idea a little bit. So the idea, theme 1, is the idea that acts of revenge can lead to disaster or destruction. The second idea is the idea that obsessions can be dangerous. Can you see how that relates? Because the reason why these men went about getting revenge on each other was because they became obsessed with being better than each other. And then finally, the idea that having ambition can be good, but not when it becomes obsessive. So all interrelated, because what they are obsessed about is being the best, getting and doing better than the other person. And when they can't achieve that, or if they're scared they can't achieve that, they sabotage each other's shows, and then we get into this progression of acts of revenge. And what I want to do in our revision period of time on the film coming up to the exam is to go over some of those revenge acts in detail, because you're going to have to write about them, and you're going to need to be fresh in your mind the film techniques that show these themes. So we'll be doing that. Okay, so have a look at this. The idea that revenge only leads to destruction is powerfully portrayed in this film through the bitter rivalry of the 2 magicians, Alfred Borden and Robert Angier. Here is the long list of vindictive and often violent acts which occur as each man takes revenge in turn upon the other. So obviously this revenge progression can be used to talk about any of these themes. It depends on what you're focusing on and how you want to explain it. But at the heart of our themes in this film is the idea that these men, something goes wrong, and they bring about their own destruction because of their desire for revenge, their obsession, their desire for ambition. So you can kind of use any of these three. All right. So, the beginning, they work together as aspiring magicians. They work together. They are pretty friendly, actually. What happens next? Then we have Angier's wife, Julia, drowning. Angier blames Borden for her death, as he suspects Borden tied the wrong knot. So one of the questions I asked you to do a couple of days ago was, did Borden really not know the knot? We know that one of the Bordens knew what went on, but the other didn't, and the one that was there in that scene didn't seem to know when he was being questioned about it at the funeral scene. What happens next? Angier hijacks Borden's bullet catch trick and shoots Borden, damaging and causing him to lose 2 of his fingers. Damaging his hand is what we need to put in there, and causing him to lose 2 of his fingers. Next, then we have Borden hijacking Angier's new birdcage trick, and we're going to look a little bit at both of those scenes in more detail. And he ruins Angier's developing career as a magician. Next, purple, Angier steals Borden's transported man trick using a double of his own, Gerald Root. Then, of course, we know that Borden goes and finds Gerald Root, who becomes unreliable because he starts to put in his mind this idea that he has power. He can ask for more money. He can pretty much do whatever he likes, because if he doesn't show up and do his act on time, Angier is in big trouble and his key show is not going to work. So he has bargaining power. So you can read through how I've explained that. Our next act of revenge is when Angier returns from Colorado. He sets up the real transported man, knowing that Borden will turn up and have to know what's going on, and so he woos him. He kind of pulls him in, knowing his obsessive state of mind, and gets him to come to the theatre, and then he is made to be present when the Angier clone drowns in the tank, and he's therefore framed for Angier's murder. So it's an incredibly clever way of catching Borden and theoretically getting rid of him for good. And of course, he takes on the guardianship of Borden's daughter at that stage, because he doesn't want to be cruel to the daughter, but he just wants to ruin everything about Borden's life. He wants to, get him hanged for a start. He wants to gloat over him that he now has her daughter, that Angier has her daughter, and he's destroyed everything about Borden and his family life in the way that Angier believes Borden did to him way back here when he thinks that Borden drowned Julia on purpose. Finally, we know that Borden is helped by Cutter to find a way to enact his revenge upon Angier for the final time. And the reason why Cutter gets on board with Borden is because he has found out that Angier is still alive, and that he has framed Borden for a murder that Borden did not commit. Okay, so Borden has done all these other things. Yes, he's broken Angier's fingers, and he's done lots of bad things, but he has not committed murder, and it's murder that he goes down for at the end. So Kata helps him get his revenge. He confronts Angier in his derelict theatre, revealing the truth about his own trick and killing him. But of course, little did Angier know, little did we know as viewers of this complex film, that there wasn't just one Borden. So at the end, the Borden who did not get eaten up by obsession, to the extent where he had to go and see what was going on in the theatre. He was the one who said in that one of those scenes, that's it, we don't know how he's doing this amazing trick, we're not going to have anything more to do with it, don't go there, that's it, we're over, we're finished. That's what the Borden who had good sense did, and he stays alive because he wasn't trapped into going and seeing what happens underneath, and then he wasn't framed for murder like his brother. So his brother is framed for murder, and Borden, who is left, is that's Fallon, obviously. He is then kills Angier in revenge for his brother being hanged at that very moment. And we will look at the final scene again in more detail about the timing. So, gents, theme is really important. And please take a look at that. Please get it in your brain. If there's anything you're not sure of, please make sure you do know what those different steps are in terms of the revenge progression. Okay, have a good weekend. Do that quiz, watch the film, and we'll continue with this on Monday. And please do that. Submission. I need to see that you can all do the submission correctly. Thanks.